Happy Wednesday, scholars. Let's go ahead and move down to the packet where we need to be. So we finished step 1, step 2, and step 3. We are on step 4. So let's go ahead and move on to step 4. Remember with step 3 to think it through, what materials did you pick? And now let's go back to Leah's plan because we need to plan ours. So we're going to use Leah's as our example again before we move on to our own assignment. So we need to think of if then experiments. If we did this, then this happened. If I used no bottle caps, then the car went slower. If I used bottle caps, the car moved faster. If I changed the bottle caps to actual wheels, the car moved even faster. So you want to think of if I did this, then this will happen. So let's look at Leah's again. Leah did her experiment. She wrote what happened when she moved the fulcrum. The fulcrum is moved closer to my hand. It is harder to lift the book. The fulcrum is moved further from my hand. Then what would have happened? You're right. It was easier to lift the book. So we'll say it is easier to lift the book. Excellent job, scholars. Now, write the results from your experiment. Fill in if in the column if you plan on change, then the result. So, fill in if this side column with the change you plan. Then column with the results. So this was our example. I take off the wheels. The car slows down. Me, I changed the wheels. The car moved faster. I changed the bottle to a can. So I put my results in. You need to put your results in. This is just an example. What did you do differently? Did you change the wheels? Did you change the bottle to a can? What did you do? So, and then you need to tell me the results. Don't just copy my response. You need to look at your own. Write time. Write a conclusion about your experiment. Were any of the results different than you expected? So, this is your turn to tell me what you learned about your experiment. So, for me, I'll start off with in conclusion, I learned that ... And I want you to finish. What did you learn? In conclusion, I learned that if I change the wheels, the car moves faster. If I change the body, nothing really changed. It actually went the same speed. So I want you to tell me in conclusion, I learned that, and then tell me your results. Answer this question by yourself. Once you're done with that part, the right time, let's move on to step 5. Step 5 is draft your report. This chart shows the parts of a lab report. Use the ideas here as you draft your beginning, middle, and end. Write a strong beginning. Tell what you wanted to find out. Describe your materials and giving definitions. So we know our materials. We used a bottle. We used bottle caps. We used sticks. Now we have some new words. Wheels, axles. What's an axle? An axle is what's holding the wheels together. It makes the wheels move easier. What's a wheel? It's a device to make objects move smoothly, or as we've been learning, use less friction. Middle paragraph should describe each step in the experiment. Tell me what happened. What happened when you changed the wheels? What happened when you changed the bottle? I want to know. At the end, sum up your experiment. Draw a conclusion. So, what did you learn? I learned that it's easier or it causes less friction when I actually use wheels that have grip compared to bottle caps. What did you learn? Write the beginning. Study the beginning of Leah's lab report. Then try writing the beginning of your own lab report. So let's go ahead and look here. How can you make objects easier to lift? I did an experiment to find out. I gathered a lever, a fulcrum, and an object. I used a yardstick as a lever, the part that moves up and down. I used a block as a fulcrum. The fulcrum supports the lever. The object I lifted was a book. I wanted to find out where should I move the fulcrum to make the book easier to lift. So, what is the question that introduces the experiment? What sentences describe the materials? Write a sentence that introduces your lab report. Hint, what are you trying to find out? So, first, what is the question that introduces the experiment? That's right. How can you make objects easier to lift? So, that's the topic. How can you make objects easier to lift? Next, what were the materials? A lever, a fulcrum, and an object. Now, write a sentence that introduces your lab report. So remember that essential question that I had you think about? Do you remember that essential question? Awesome. Good job, scholars. How can you change the speed of a vehicle? That is your question. So, how can you how can you change the speed of a vehicle? Now I want you to draft the beginning of your lab report. So draft the beginning on the last page. So this part right here, your beginning, make sure you include your question, your materials, and introduce your lab report. So let's go ahead and go down here. This is where you're going to type your beginning. So you need to tell me the question. What is our essential question? Then materials. Then you need to introduce your report. So I want to see at least 3 to 4 sentences in your beginning. So for Wednesday, you need to have at least 3 or 4, maybe more sentences in your beginning. You need at least 3 to tell me the question, the materials, and introduce your report. But you can have 4 and maybe more sentences if needed. But I want to see at least 3 or 4 sentences for your beginning. So this is your beginning. What's the question? Our question was, how can you change the speed of a vehicle? What's the materials you would need? You're going to need your wheels, an axle, a bottle, sticks, anything you used to make your bottle car. Introduce your report. You need to tell me, what happens if I change something to make the car go faster? How can I make the car go slower? Let me know in the beginning. Please use Leah's example to help you write a complete beginning. When you're done, you're going to do the same thing for the middle. Write the middle. Read about the first change in Leah's experiment. Then write about your first change. First, I put the fulcrum near my hand. I placed the book on the other end of the yardstick, and I pushed down on the lever. The end of the lever closest to me was very short. It was hard to lift the book. What change did Leah make? You're right. If you said put the fulcrum near her hand, well, you're correct. So let's go ahead and put that. Leah put the fulcrum near her hand. And what was the outcome? It was hard to lift the book. Now, what was the first change you made? For me, my example is I changed the wheels. So I'm going to say I changed the bottle cap wheels to Lego wheels. And then you're going to write your middle on the very last page. So then you're going to scroll all the way down and you're going to type out your middle in here. Talk about your first change and the result. Then talk about your second change and the result. This is one paragraph. This is another paragraph. So remember, whenever you're writing paragraphs, to indent. So one paragraph response. And how many? I want anywhere between 3 to 5 sentences. This one paragraph response. Again, 3 to 5 sentences. Make sure you spell sentences correctly. Good thing we have spell check. And that's your middle. What was the first change and the result? The second change and the result. Next is the end. Study Leah's lab report. Then try writing the end of your own report. The results were clear. Using a lever and a fulcrum can make objects easier to lift. The best way is to move the fulcrum closer to the object you want to lift. When the lever is long on the opposite side of the object feels lighter. Write a sentence Leah uses to conclude her report. So I want you to do this one by yourself. Write a sentence that draws a conclusion about your report. I want you to tell me, what did you learn about yours? So I want you to do this ending part by yourself and then draft your ending here. What were your final results? What did you learn? And how did your car go faster or slower? Tell me, what were your final results? What did you learn? Did your car go faster or slower? That's what you're going to put in your ending. You're answering your ending just like that. So for right now, you are coming up and you are drafting your beginning, your middle, and end. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your thoughts down. That's what 6 and 7, where we go in and we edit and we look over and revise in our next video. So make sure you answer the end. What did you learn in the end? In draft. All right, I will see you on Thursday. Thanks, scholars.